What is up? No, I'm kidding. I do like your back painting in the background. Like, what is that?
Oh, it's a tapestry.
Oh, it's a tapestry.
Hmm.
Tapestry of what? Some like
I believe it's it's like sunset or sunrise over set ocean.
that's like I feel like a product of the legalization of mushrooms for therapy or hallucinogenics for therapy is what that reminds me of.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's really
I
hard
didn't say that.
to. I did. That's why I bought it. Yeah, it's from. Let's see who does this one. I think it's one of the artists off of the Threda website. THREYDA.
Okay.
Yeah, they like collab with multiple artists to make products, tapestries, art pieces, clothing. Um, and I saw this piece and grabbed it.
Just fucking gravitated towards it. Like, this is me. This is what I want. This is who I am as an individual. This is Birdies on 10 in the middle of summer
That's it.
at
That's
Dexter.
at Dexter. Dude, I haven't played Dexter in a minute. I'm stoked to get back out and play.
Are you just that like Oregon disc golf course at Alton Baker?
Yeah, I've actually played that one more lately, just because
Why
the
is that?
new layouts. I mean,
Okay.
there was two par fives, and then
Two
the
par five, like legit par fives, like compared to the monster hole, how do they measure?
oh, I mean, each one you can birdie. I could birdie.
So then, okay, par fours.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, they're soft fives.
Okay. No, the
Uh,
reason I asked, like, I think the monster hole for me is like the quintessential par five. You legit have hole one, which is a placement shot. Hole two, did you place yourself in a position to score? Most often than not, it's no. And then you place yourself in the next position of can you get up and down in order to secure the par from where you're at? Um, Surprisingly, for a lot of people, the answer is no. So then they take their, usually long par bid with a well executed shot or, take their bogey is usually what it is. So for
yeah,
me, like I think the monster hole at BSF Milo is definitely the quintessential par five because I've seen a few par fives where it's just like, yes, I can see how you get to a par five, but it's not as hard as like that, and so I should be able to navigate it accordingly.
yeah, and like with that said, like he had two par fives on the course for a minute, and that storm hit. It caused a whole bunch of stuff to happen. So now those two par fives are no more. Probably not till summer. I'm assuming he's gonna bring them back in the summer, but he had to switch some layouts. And his changes are actually like really cool. I
Well, I think Sunday I'm heading down to Seven Feathers, so just slightly outside Roseburg,
mhm.
for work. But if you want to show me Alton Baker, I'll give it a second, third, fourth chance to impress me. So if you're down for a round on Sunday, let me know.
I'll let you know. Let's go ahead and do
But
that intro.
that's where I was gonna go to. Shit, fuck Josh. Let's reward our listeners with our early chit chat before we go live. But no, Josh wants to just rush into it all. So, what is up, everybody? We have a slightly amazing episode of Jammers in the Rough for you all. And the reason I say slightly is because our wonderful co host, Cody, the absolute worst Waldron, is missing. He's currently, who knows where. He has not communicated with us at all. He has not let us know where he's at. And so we're starting slightly late today, 15 minutes late because of this individual. So you will be, without our amazing commentating of our co-host Cody. But as always, we have Josh, the Grow It Winters himself. He's a shower, or he's a grower, not a shower, Winters. And of course, the hostess with the mostest, myself, Paige Hurtado. Happy to be here. I do want to take this introduction to kind of let everybody know that we are moving to a bi-weekly podcast. Whatever one of our realizations of last year was that doing it every single week during the season got to be a little bit redundant because there's 4, 5, 6 podcasts that are also going on a weekly basis covering the same things, that we felt like we were just, doing a very similar job of rehashing what was going on a weekly basis. So our goal with the season starting is to back off to be bi-weekly. This gives us time to vet out content. This gives us time to be intentional with some of the conversations that we're trying to deliver to you all. And our hopes is that this will, one, allow us to play more disc golf personally, but also allow us to give you guys tailored content that we feel like you tune into Jammers in the Rough for. So with that, I want to say what's up, Josh. How are you doing?
Doing pretty good. I'm excited for the clock to roll back or roll forward. Spring
back, fall forward.
Yeah, go back so I get some more sunshine. Working 9 to 5s, and it's getting a little bit better, so I can maybe get a 9 in after work. But having that extra hour and getting the days longer is going to be great. Because during the summer I can haul ass out to Dexter right after work and get around it if I wanted to.
Yeah, it's like what, 20, 30 minutes from you?
Yeah, roughly. Mm-hmm.
No, I think that makes a big difference, right? Like, so I'll pick up Dallas from school every once in a while, and during like the winter months, it's like, okay, you get off at 2:30, we get out there by like 3:30, and we have like an hour and a half of sun. Now that we're pushing 6:30 of sunlight, like even that much is making a big difference, let alone when we start to kind of spring forward a little bit and get an extra hour. Like, summer's almost here, spring's almost here. Getting an extra hour of daylight is huge.
Let's see. So you had the you got the new Envy, right?
I did. Yeah. So I can say all day disc golf. Unfortunately, our video was unable to be captured, so ignore my early comments where I'm like, we're doing this to tailor content for you. No. Unfortunately, we weren't able to tailor this content for you between these 2 weeks. Chalk it up to our, lovely behind the scenes compatriot Colin Hayden, who has been busy with work and life in general, so he hasn't been able to tailor or whip us up a video. But I will talk a little bit about the Envy. I will say, like a lot of discs these days are dependent between disc to disc in regards to how they fly. The one that I'm throwing right now is a little purple webby with green rim that flies overstable, but I've also overstable, like a true Envy. Like, it flies like an Envy. You can hammer it and it'll fly and then fade predictably. Maybe put on a little bit of Annie and flex it and keep it straight. Surprised me because the first Envy that I thrown was really flippy. You throw it flat and it's like a Praxis. It wants to drift. And you good luck getting it to get back. If we had a video, you'd see me forehanding the differences of 2 of them, right? Mm-hmm. One I forehanded, like the Envy that I'm bagging, I can forehand and it'll take the hyzer and crash predictably. Whereas the other one on that same release and power will hold the hyzer, stand up, and turn over. And so I will say with these Envies, if you get a flippy one and you want a more overstable one, it might just come down to changing the color or changing. And I don't know what it is. Like, I didn't buy 20 of them to find out exactly what the predictive measure is. Is it color? Is it webbing? Is it the metal flakes? Is it the opaqueness? Is it the rim? Like, I don't know what causes it, but there's 2 flights in the Envies. The true traditional Envy flight that's maybe a tick seasoned but still has the overstability to it, or super seasoned flippy. There's no point in bagging this unless you want a flippy Envy, which I challenge you to get a fucking Praxis, because it's going to be better than an Envy ever was at that straight flight. So those are the 2 flights of it. So it did catch me off guard, and I did throw enough Envies between some of my friends and the envies that they bought and the envies that I bought to like truly say that it's going to be dependent on which one you get. If you got a flippy one, maybe buy a second one to see if you want the overstable. If you got an overstable one and you want a flippy, maybe buy a second one. But also, the run's all over the fucking place, and if you can figure it out, good luck. I couldn't with the 6 or 7 that I threw because I threw multiple purples, right? Like I'm a purple guy at heart. I threw a purple that was flippy. I threw a purple that was overstable.
Is the rim the same on all of them?
What was that?
Is the rim the same on all 3?
No. So that's where that's what I mean. Like it could be the rim, but one of my purples had webbing on the inside of it. And one of them didn't. One was like more opaque. Like I don't know what the predictive is. There's a lot of predictive factors that could be it, and I haven't thrown enough to know truly what it is. Hopefully, you go to the forums and maybe narrowed it down from there. But I threw 3 or 4 purple and or maybe equal parts flippy and equal parts stable.
Same color. That's weird. Okay, yeah, because I've thrown a day glow and a blue, and both of those were super understable.
So I will say that like the day glow that I did throw was flippy. So maybe the day glows are flippy and the purples are like lean towards more stable. Because I only threw 1 flippy purple one and 2 were overstable. So I do know. So that's that 2-to-1 ratio. I will also say like dome usually plays a factor. So I know with MVP, the domier disc is usually the flippier it is, which is opposite of Innova, and the flatter they are, the more stable they are. So I will say that could play a factor. So if you have a more domey one, that's probably going to be a little bit flippier and tend to like flip and drift than some of the other NVs. Also with the new NVs, I think what's the word?
Your thinking face.
That's why I just had a brain fart. But I will say, like with the new NVs, like I really enjoy them. If you can find the right one for you, I think they will slot in the bag. What I was trying to get to is they're fucking glidey. They get abused by the wind, so I don't think they're good for the wind at all. If there's any type of wind where you're at, if there's headwind, it will get bullied. If there's right to left wind, it is glidey. It will drift right to left for days. It's going to get bullied by the wind is what I found out with it. So if you're looking like no wind, you want something to be like a zone, amazing disc. But if there's any type of wind, I don't think you can trust this disc in the wind at all to fly how you're wanting it to fly, which also gives me a little bit of pause for wanting to bag it. I don't think for me it was a bagger. I'm probably taking it out for, a straight zone. NV for Praxis with regards to glide, I think they're both the same. I think when it comes to glide, I think what Praxis does good is that it doesn't have the overstability to it. So when you throw it flat with the wind, it's going to hold flat. But because the Envy is overstable and try to lean towards overstable, you release it flat. You have no wind. But then when it starts to come back in hyzer, that wind hits the flight plate hard. And then it gets like almost a second flight in a glidier flight. And that's why I don't like it for the wind. If you have a headwind, you throw a Praxis flat, it'll drift, but you already are wanting that drift in the Praxis. So you expect it. But with the Envy, when it starts to drift, it doesn't have the overstability or stability to fight back in the drift to come back, which makes it a poor wind fighter for me because it's not doing what you expect. So when I think about wind fighters, it's you throw in the wind and it does what you expected it to do. And these Eagle Envies didn't do it for me.
I can see that. I mean, once I threw those two, they're both super unstable. I stopped trying. I just don't.
Yeah, because I think the Praxis is better at that, right?
Yeah, I just don't need that. One, I'm super overstable disc. Don't really have a place in my bag except for my rollers. And
which, by the way, fucking Rolo, I'm loving those new swirly Rolos.
The Rolo?
The Rolo. There was like a 400-foot shot where I had to go like 200 feet straight and then 200 feet right. Spike hyzer. dumb utility shot, but for utility, it's a dumb, crazy disc. For your armor speed, Josh, it's probably like straight to overstable.
Probably. One disc that I got recently that I've kind of fallen in love with was the Tactic from those mystery boxes. Don't. No, the Flex one. It's like super gummy. It feels great in the hand, and the flight of it, it's a cool tactic.
I will say, I don't necessarily like the change of Discmania to their own manufacturer, but they are finally starting to find an identity as a manufacturer. The Metal Flake plastic is good.
Mm-hmm.
The gummy plastic, it's not G-Star where it's not usable. The fact that they're mixing the gumminess with the C-line is a smart thing to do, and I think that's giving it identity. The third or fourth iteration of Glow plastic is finally starting to carve out an identity with the new Glow FDs, the new Glow DD1s. You're starting to see some identity behind these molds with that plastic type. And so we might be finally seeing Discmania come out of the putting the foot in the mouth phase of their company to finally starting to grow into an identity. For the life of me, I can't necessarily like I have a hard time wanting to like buy Discmania, but I think they're having good plastics out there with consistent runs.
Yeah, there's definitely like there's a good shift.
A new shift,
a new different shift, and that shift is I'm all for it. Like, I mean, really the only disc from Discmania that I throw is the Tactic, but in all variations from their older runs to the newer runs. And this new one, like, it's my favorite one since the Broken Claw to come out.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Now the question is, have you thrown a C-line Tactic now that Eagle released 3 or 4 to the world?
No, I have not. But I know where ones exist. I know where one exists.
I know where 2 exists. So
well, I know where 2. I know where 2 exists, but I know where 1 exists. That if that person ever gets rid of it, hopefully I'm gonna get a message because I really want to throw one.
And that's a good question. What is your take on the fucking release of Eagles collection to the fucking world?
Dude, I think it was really cool the way it was done. It's really hard to put value on those things just because it was from Eagles collection. It's a piece of history. I mean, I was able to nab a bunch of Tactics, which I'm super stoked about, and a Razor Claw. I think it's going to give special magic to each disc that's thrown. My whole plan is to bag them. So, like the least attack.
And I will say, Rare Air Discs, who sponsor this show, is but one facet in which Eagle released his discs to the world.
That's true.
And so you can have your opinion about Rare Air Discs. That's not what I'm trying to question here. My question is, Eagle chose a random local to offload some discs. He chose the face of Discmania to offload some discs. He chose online retailer who's local to Colorado to offload some discs. He chose maybe some of his friends and compatriots to offload some discs. And to me, that is really impressive because everyone that's touched an Eagle collection disc in regards to him giving them to him have some connection to either his home state or who he is as an individual. And I thought that was a really cool thing to see to it. Also, like the Gannon Burr getting a big chunk of his collection, it was like, hey, I'm not trying to gatekeep your ability to be successful in Discmania. I'm actually trying to take the opposite stance, which is I'm not trying to completely profit off of these things. I'm going to give you an opportunity to be successful under the Discmania wings. And in doing so, here's my collection, but also here's another way for me to profit. And I thought that was a really cool, unique way of doing it. So hats off to Eagle. And for how much you want to criticize Rare Discs, I don't think you can criticize them too much because almost everything has sold at this point from that collection. And I'm always of the stance of, something is worth what somebody is willing to pay for it, and the fact that many people have paid for it means that it was worth it. Now, if it's out of your budget, it's sucks to suck kind of mentality for you. Get some money, because bitching about it isn't going to fix the fact that it sold for that price.
Yeah, and and just to note that if there still are some of Eagle's stash on rare air discs right now. You can use discount code Jammers, get 10% off. Go pick one up for yourself.
Sucks to suck. Jammers in the rug.
What's up, Cody? Late to the
what
show.
What the fuck is up, Cody?
I mean, I warned you ahead of time, guys. My bad.
Oh yeah, warned us ahead of time.
Hey, you take that up with the weather.
6:28. He messaged us saying he was going to be late.
Oh, whoa. Let's see. Excuse me. I'm pretty sure that time was at 11:16 a.m.
Nope.
No.
Today.
Fake news. So what is up, Cody? We have your lovely hot take. Where are you at? Coming in hot.
Well, I mean, I just came in on the end of your guys, and I just hear, are people complaining about the Eagle disc on Rare Air, or what's going on?
We just want to be cool to talk about how Eagle unleashed his seeds into the world.
Did you have to say it like that? I mean, that's just odd.
I mean, it's the best way to say it. It's the only way to say it.
The only way.
Basically, we're saying the market, you don't know the market of it until you put it out there.
The market was willing and accepting of his seed.
Exactly.
I mean, I saw some complaints, but at the same time, who dictates the market? Not the seller, it's the buyer.
And
I will also say too, like, there's a lot of people complaining, but have you seen the sneaky level of either Team Discmania people that are leaving or Team Discmania people that are sitting on inventory? Because we're at a flux of team stamps. I've never seen so many team stamps like available in the marketplace as of like this moment. And I think there's a lot of players, and I know for a fact that there's players that potentially are leaving the team in a month or two, to players that are very active on the team that have used this opportunity to offload some things in a unique time to where they might not get caught. And I thought that was very creative for these players to do. So Eagle is even creating ways for other teammates to profit off of, which good for Eagle.
Well, and I mean, I think about like the infinite disc pages where you weren't allowed to sell team stamps. You were not allowed to sell. And I've seen people called out for it before. But at the same time, I feel like it's been more lax than ever. Infinite team stamps, Innova team stamps, even people, Discraft team stamps are the stamps I see the least amount of. Everything else, I feel like I see more.
I think TSA.
Well, okay. I'm talking about the big three. Calm down.
So MVP, Innova, and
you know what? That's going to segue to my hot take, and it's probably going to get ugly, or it's going to be lukewarm. I don't know. My hot take is all of the small amount of team sponsorships are bad for the disc golf community.
What? What do you mean?
Why?
So here's the thing.
What do you mean by small?
All right, so maybe not small, but I have seen more arguing and dissension among teammates and sponsors than any other issue. Think about all the squabbles, all the arguing, people that didn't make the team get upset, people that make the team feel like they're better. And this isn't just any specific team. This is how many times does somebody not make a team and get hurt? And then that causes, it's like a wedge in the disc golf community where that might have been your buddy, your friend before. You make the team, they don't make the team. Now you have an issue.
So I will say I'll one-up you and be like, the majority of people that are sponsored don't deserve to be sponsored. That, in fact, the people that are sponsors is a vast majority of people or minority of people that deserve to be sponsored by that organization. And I will say, because that there's a vast majority of people that don't deserve to be sponsored, that though they are sponsored by a small company, they're actually doing more harm to that company than good. And I can see that argument as well.
And let me preface this with saying that I'm on a team. Yeah, I'm with a small company.
Hashtag
velocities.
terminal velocity. Hashtag infinite disc. Just drop the Eric Oakley Ursus. Hashtag go get you some of that.
Okay.
I got you.
Okay.
Welcome
I
to
mean-
the show, Cody.
Yeah, okay. I'm used to it. But I'll also preface it saying that this is for amateur players. Professional players getting sponsorships, you're on a team. That's the big league. I understand that. You're getting paid for that. But think about how many people in the disc golf community, I don't want to say hold this over, but use this as how many, like, oh, I'm on this team, I'm a better player. But like Paige just said, what are you really doing for that team other than a title? It's like the person when they write, like when I get emails from people and they're like, oh, John Smith, MD, BCB, BCAB, blah, blah, like all these titles. And I'm thinking, what does that really do for this? At the same time, if I'm on team terminal velocity and I don't do anything for them, if I'm on team infinite and I don't do anything for them, and I just use this to put it, hey, Josh, I'm on a team infinite. Hey, Paige, am I really doing the disc golf community a service, or am I just causing a big pissing match?
No, and I will say too, like, Jammers in the Rough. So if you're sponsored by us, be on alert. But we
Gonna
sponsored
kick ya.
we're like 7 or 8 people last year. And out of those like 7 or 8 people, maybe 9, there was a handful that helped us promote us, but there was also equal parts, if not a vast majority of people that didn't. And we're like, okay, why are we contributing so much to this individual if they're not going to support us? Because, I think about one of those things, right? Like, people that want something are willing to go above and beyond in order to obtain it. But once you obtain it, you got the like, oh, now that I have it, I don't want it, or I don't care about it anymore because this new shiny toy lost its appeal because I have it. And I think with sponsorships, there's a lot of people like that. Let me go and do whatever I can to get sponsored, but the moment I have it, now the luster's gone and I don't want it anymore, so I'm not going to do anything, which ruins it. But there's also the other part of people that are like, oh, I demand, because my name's attached to you, I demand all of this other stuff, so give it to me, and ruin it for people. And I think there's a lot of people that, like I said, there's out of the vast majority of people that have been sponsored that I've witnessed being on multiple teams, there's a very small amount that I feel like truly should be sponsored, and there's a overwhelming amount of people that probably should have never been sponsored in the first place, that make it bad for people, right? Like, and that's the unfortunate side of things. And
And that can be said for a lot of stuff, but I'm saying some of
we're
the
talking
best
disc golf.
some of the best team members I've ever been part of, and this goes beyond disc golf, are usually the quieter ones that get the work done. The loud ones that say, hey, I'm on this team, I do this. What are you really doing? Other than honestly getting people annoyed at you and that. Because I've looked at some teams and seen some people I know in there. I'm thinking, I wouldn't want to be on that team because that guy sucks. People probably look at team, terminal velocity and like Cody Waldron, he's a suckbag. I don't want to buy a terminal velocity disc, So,
But also think about like how many people too, and that's what like the worst, right? Like, hey, I haven't heard from you all year, but the moment contracts are being talked about, you're the loudest I've ever seen you, because you don't want to be off the team because here's this prestige of being on this team. But the moment contracts are being talked, you're like, oh, hey, where's the contract? Where's the contract? Let me sign. Why isn't the contract here? And it's just like, most of the people that are fine are gonna be like, well, the contract will come when it comes. But the people that are so worried about that are usually the ones that, maybe you shouldn't be on this team in the first place if you're just worried about re-signing. Because a lot of times, if my contracts, if they don't want to re-sign me, that's not going to derail the things that I'm going to be doing. It's going to lead to me being like, okay, cool. Does somebody else want to help me doing this? And usually there's like 2 or 3 other options that I have available. I just happen to go to this individual sponsor in hopes that they want to buy into it, and they did. Right. But as contracts exist, that contract, the moment they honored it and the moment I honored mine, the contract's done and we're waiting to sign another. So a lot of people try to leverage well, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that just to sign. And then they sign and then it's like, well, this happened, and this is why I didn't do it. but do you want to sign me again? And I think those people are the absolute worst, even worse than Cody.
And that's pretty bad. But like I was saying, I understand those points as well. And I was saying, as a community, like if you look at the disc golf community, like the people you interact with, most of the time that team sponsorship you have is doing more of a disservice to growing that community than growing it. That's my opinion.
Which I think there's like some smaller companies that are getting away from the sponsorship. Even TSA, right? They acknowledge that we have this nucleus, which is a really solid core to build around. Let's not bring any more to this year. And I think some of that could be said to that, right? If they were to open it up, limit the introduction to these people, it's going to ostracize the community, because there was big pushback last year that we saw on our podcast and the aftermath of some of the announcements. I see Josh over here shaking his head, just avidly, just fuming red.
Then the
if
hot
you guys
take
aren't
worked.
watching this live, if you are listening to us on Spotify, like check out, like pause it here, go to our Facebook page, and look at how fucking red Josh is right now, because he is just against this hot take. So Josh,
But Josh, again, I'm not. This is not saying
let Cody shut you down and mansplain before you even get a chance to.
he's a
to
man.
say why
I'm
you're
saying.
fuming.
I'm just saying. Am I not allowed to say my own
You are.
hot take?
100%.
I'm just saying. You are on a team, and I feel like you do good for your team. But does that doesn't qualify everyone else? Because I don't see you walking around like, "Hey, Team TSA, suck it." Like you're not rubbing that people's like some people on the podcast tend to do. You're the quiet, stoic type that does the stuff behind the scenes. And that is what disc golf needs more of, not the loud, boastful people that like, yo, I'm better than you because I'm on a team.
But I feel like you're blanketing the statement as like those smaller teams are the issue. Where
No. What I'm saying
Not
is the smaller
smaller-
teams sponsoring people, and those people are the issue.
Yeah,
and
not the
causing
team.
actually lack of growth because they're the issue.
Yeah,
Well-
I wasn't saying the team itself is the problem, the people representing them and using that as a wedge to cause dissension among people. It doesn't matter if it's the biggest. I was saying not a professional. I'm not going to say like Paul Macbeth being sponsored by Discraft is the worst thing. He is a paid
He's
professional.
the best thing for Discraft right now. Even
Well,
better
probably.
than Barella, because Barella had to do a co-sponsorship with fucking Macbeth to sell some discs.
Okay. Let Josh talk. Use our adult voices. Go ahead, Josh.
no, I just personally feel like
Wrong.
Attacked. Josh
I
is
can't
being
with this
attacked.
guy. Let's see. Well, I feel like you can correct me if I'm wrong. Your statement,
You're wrong.
your hot take is that it's not the small teams; it's the people on those small teams that.
I'm saying by all of these people like if you go to any Facebook page, you'll sometimes see an amateur player that's like, I'm on 8 different disc golf teams. I'm on team Quick Sacks, blah, 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 this. And I feel like that's causing more of a problem with the community. Not saying that it's that fault, but it causes issues where people are like, I didn't get on that team. What's with that? Then they're mad at this. They're mad at the team. It's not saying that those people can't have a positive influence, but my personal opinion, I've seen more issues fighting amongst teammates and people not on the team than the actual teammates doing good for that community or that team.
But that's
And I
also
will
not
say-
that person's fault, though. It's not
No,
that person's
it's-
fault that they're getting upset.
We're
I
not
didn't
doing
say it
so- we're
was.
not-
It's people who I don't feel like it's the teams or the players on that team's fault whatsoever. I think the issue lies in a generation that it's like, if I can't have it, no one can. I'm going to be
And
crazy about it. And
I'm not disagreeing with that. I see that every day in schools.
So I also think like
But
part
Josh,
of
go
like
ahead.
the
I want you to
problem
finish.
is the how big does a company need to get to feel or lose the impact of that? Like Discraft, for example, how many people do you think applied to Discraft this year? Thousands of
Oh.
people, and you say no to those people, and you understand why you said no, and you're not going to go to the forums and be like, Paul Macbeth, Paige Pierce Page, fuck you all. Why wasn't I invited to the team? Let me go to the Discord and complain, because you understand that because of this big organization, you're small percentage, but you get to somewhere like a TSA where you're a lot smaller and the nucleus of fans are there, that you do have a legit voice, whether that wants to be recognized or not. Usually you have a voice that could be heard, to the point to where, like, when's the last time Bob Julio was on the pages commenting? But Aaron's on the pages commenting and putting out fires. And because you have that team, we don't have thousands playing into TSA. Last year we had what, 500-600 people. And
That's
out of
still a
those
big
500,
amount.
that's not a big amount, but out of those 500 to 600 people, 15 people got on the team last year. And of those 545 people that didn't get on the team, all of them have an opinion about it, and all of those opinions can be heard, and will be heard and have been heard. And the people on the team, unfortunately, weren't always the best people to be on the team, and because of that,
Mm,
that opinion can be heard. And because that opinion can be heard, it creates what Cody is saying is dissent. And in creating this dissent is actually damaging this brand, because if 600 people are applying to be that sponsorship, out of that 600 people, how many did they lose that applied, right? How many did they lose from buying their product by only allowing 15 people to be sponsored? And is that percentage worth it?
But I do want to hear, Josh. You were in the middle of something. Paige, I agree with that. But Josh, I do want to hear what you were going on. I'm not going to say anything.
It was a while ago. I think my main point was that I feel like what a lot of people do for those smaller companies outweighs keyboard warriors, if you will. And no matter what, there's going to be people who have grown up in a generation where, like, they were raised on a keyboard. Like, that's just from the childhood. There's just phones, keyboards, iPads, social media. That is their life. It creates this artificial barrier between them and people, which allows them to say things or react a certain way that I feel is absolutely childish. And I feel like that number of people is not that many. It's just they're the loudest and you hear them. And I feel like the smaller companies sponsoring people to promote them, a lot of them pick really good people that do great things and honor said contract to promote the company in a very positive manner. It's just they're not as loud as the people who scream and shout online. And that's a shame. I just don't feel like it's bad for smaller companies or detrimental to them. I think it is what it is. Yeah, that's about it for that one.
So,
And
I
then
think
what do you? Oh, go ahead,
Cody.
Paige.
I was gonna say, what you're explaining is, I think, true in the context that you're explaining it. I think the fix to some of this issue is obviously, the installation of captains that have the best interest of this company at part. And I think, some companies do it correctly, where it's like, I'm only going to let 5 people in here and let me choose the best 5 of the 5. And unfortunately, those 5 people, sometimes you get it wrong. But, if you get 1 or 2 wrong of those 5, you're hoping that those 2 or 3 outweigh those individuals. And if somebody is so fickle to not get accepted and abandon that sponsorship, you never wanted them in the first place, because clearly you were just leveraging everything you wanted for something, and when you didn't get it, you were a little kid, and now everything that you were about was a lie, because clearly you aren't about the brand if you just foregoed it by one rejection. And you want to let those people go away. But
And
I know,
Josh, I agree with your point as of that as well, where that can be. That's not the issue. I'm saying it still does cause issues, and I'm not blaming the company. I'm not blaming the person. I'm just saying what I've seen in the community at large. That is an issue. I don't know the solve to it, because people are still going to be childish. Think about if you go look at a review on Amazon. The people that are usually happy with their product and just use it don't leave a review. It's the people that are ecstatic about it, that love it, or the people that think it's absolute garbage. It's either 5 stars or 1. That's what you're going to get. Same thing with anything. Even with kids when I work at school. I don't, the kids that fly under my radar are the ones that do their job, that are just there. The really excellent kids that go above and beyond, they stand out. The kids that go and cause issues are the ones that stand out. Same thing in any sort of community, any sort of environment where the noisy people, like you mentioned, are the ones that are going to cause the most issues.
Well, I also think that what you're explaining, like Cody, is like polarizing, right?
Mhm.
What I've seen working in the school system is usually the kids that are productive, they're athletes, they're star athletes, they're good in school. The teachers have a tendency to want to support those individuals to the point to where they're ignoring a lot of the classroom. And then adversely, you get the people that are like, oh, hey, those people are being taken care of. Let me focus on the destitute, the disengaged, the no connection to mentor, and those are those extremes.
And the people in the middle just kind of get stuff done without support from either side, and that's probably where a majority of the disc golf community is. But they're not the ones making noise, like you said, Josh. It's the people that are on the team doing good. The people that didn't make the team that are now very upset and making a lot of noise.
Yeah, I think that's a really good example. But that's Cody's hot take. We have
that might have been my hottest one now.
We'll see. Nobody chimed in for chat, so it can't be that hot. Josh is taking it as a personal attack, which is like, get over yourself, Josh. He's talking abstractly. He's not attacking Josh Winter. All of your small sponsorships that you get.
No, it is not pissing me off. What it is, it's just like, I'm just so over it. I just wish we could all play disc golf, have a good time, and just having this subject like brought up so often, it's annoying. So,
now I'm gonna log out. I logged in just to cause Josh to get mad, and then I'm like, all right, I'm leaving. Peace out.
Josh, I don't know, man. I just want like some peace and love and play some disc golf and
pause your Spotify. Go to CH Sports. Click on the last week's Jammers in the Rough episode and see how fucking red and fuming Josh is right now, guys. Just do that for me.
He's not even wearing headphones. Why aren't you wearing headphones?
Yeah, he took his headphones off. He doesn't even want to hear me right now. That's how livid he is. But with his headphones off, we have Josh's What's in the News Winters for us. So hammer it, Josh. Hammer us
What's
home.
new, pussycat? Whoa.
Well, first, let's give a shout out to Barella. Get it back. No, he deserved it.
I will say, I'm so glad he won, because every time that he's so close to winning, I think it's a dick fucking move.
He chokes.
No. Yes, he chokes, but I think it's a dick move by the Professional Disc Golf Association or the Disc Golf Network, whoever decides every time he's close to contention to replay his blow up at the European Open. Everyone, even this win, the moment Ricky hits his putt on hole 17, cue the montage of Barella blowing it at European Open. And I think that's the worst fucking dick move you can do to an athlete. And he's not aware. He's playing this sport. But the fact that we have people that will, bash Ian Anderson for like ruining a putt, like, oh, that's going to go in, and they banned it. You're like, fucking Ian. Like, you got to bash on DGN for playing countless times at this point. Barella choking the European Open away on the fucking island hole. And the fact that it happened here at chess.com, I think took away from his victory, because I feel like you're actively rooting against this individual to win. And you're hoping that Ricky rallies, hit a big putt on 17, and you're hoping Barella chokes on 18 and Ricky wins? And I think that's a terrible fucking look. So fuck the DGN.
Whoa.
Wow.
But congratulations, Barella.
Hey, you just made my point page. The loudest ones make the noise.
Yes.
Woo!
Oh, well, congratulations, AB.
That's all Josh said.
Yeah.
Hey, congrats, AB. Page
all I
goes
want
on
to
this
say
tangent.
I just want to say
Wow.
first. I know you guys wanted to hit on. We have a few minutes we can hit on it. Is with Brody. If to
Brody.
one of you
Cue
want
us
to
up,
summarize,
Josh.
do one of you want to summarize what's happening with Brody?
Oh, that's your job. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I did my segment. I started a fight. I'm good.
I did my segment.
Don't put
Well.
your work on us, Josh.
Yeah, that's your one fucking job.
I showed up late and I did my job. You were here the whole time. You do your job.
Well, I think he's getting to a point where he's realizing that disc golf is hard. You can only get so far being good at sports. And he's realizing that disc golf is actually once you get to that 1,000 mark, which is really hard to get to, and I'm very impressed that he did. But I feel like it's finally gotten to him. And I don't think we're going to see him in disc golf, if at all, much longer.
No, but that's the thing. Like in his video, he was like, "Oh, I think I'm done with disc golf, but my backpack company and my disc company is doing well, so I'll keep doing that." So it's like clearly he sees that there's money being made in here, and he wants to stay like afloat via disc golf, which I get. Make your money, but I will say the fact that this individual has had the luxury to never feel what he's feeling currently just speaks like testaments to his privilege in athletics. I think most athletes have hated their sport that they chose at one part in their competitive career. And if you haven't hated your sport, good for you. All the sports that I've been dominant in, I have legit had years where I've hated. And because I hated them, when I've grown past that hatred to fall back in love with them, I was stronger and more competitive for that. And the fact that, and it shows that, I mean, to be honest, how maybe weak mentally he is in order to try to, because I questioned why compete in disc golf if you're not trying to compete in disc golf, because you start to lose and then you're like, well, I think I'm done. I lost that competitive edge. Absolutely. You lost that competitive edge because you're not competitive in the sport and you're not willing to do what it takes to be competitive in the sport. And if you're not willing to do what it takes to be competitive in the sport, you're going to lose that fire in you, because we've talked about this in the podcast. Our disc golf is great because you see such quick improvement with like small minimal effort. Hey, I went to the practice field and I went from 150 feet. I went the next day, I went to 175, and you see that growth in real time. But when you hit a fucking wall, that's why I love disc golf. You hit a wall, you spend months to a year to multiple years to get over that wall. And no other sport has been like that for me, because I've been able to overcome it in big ways. The fact that he's willing to like break down never truly being competitive in this sport just shows how weak mentally he is and how truly strong like this field is in athleticism, in athletics and mentality. I love that Ulibarri was on that podcast with Brody talking about how he never has like felt where Brody's at in order to quit, because it's about the competitiveness for him in this sport, that he wants to be there. And in fact, since that podcast, he went to Memorial and made lead card on the final day competing. And to me, that shows that there is an effort to be had if you're willing to do the due diligence and make the competitive push. Brody isn't willing to do the A tiers, the B tier push to get confidence to be successful on the pro tour, which shows how weak truly that mentality is for him and how fragile that ego is around it. You never felt that with golf because you got to the point to where it takes ready to be successful to the next level and you got injured and you stopped. You got to the point in golf where it takes to that and you got injured and you stopped. That isn't under your control. That was like, oh, I'm injured. But now that it's within your control and nothing's hindering your ability to make that next push but yourself, and you stop, eventually you have to realize that all along, maybe you're just weak mentally. And I think, like I said, when it comes to athletics and sports, I've competed on a world level and professional level in multiple sports at this point in my career. And to realize that, this is what it's going to be, that you're going to hate your sport, but love the grind, I think is a really important aspect of disc golf. If you love the sport but hate the grind, you're never going to be good. But if you can get to the point to where you're starting to hate your sport, but you're still loving that grind of it, That's where it takes to be successful. And I think it just shows testament of like all of the athleticism of our top 10 athletes, if not top 30 athletes in this sport, and validates how difficult it really is. Because here's somebody that so quickly got the intangible 1,000 rated, got his pro card, and has failed to deliver, and then now quitting.
Now,
This shows like
devil's
ahead, sorry.
advocate here. And I don't feel sorry for this guy because he makes a lot of money. He married a Raiders cheerleader. He has a disc golf.
It was Cowboys cheerleader at the time, which
Whatever.
for some reason has a
Okay,
higher
but
fucking hierarchy.
He does card breaks now, like sports cards. But couldn't you say it also shows maybe a little bit of maturity where he's realizing he's probably been good at everything he's done. He's an athlete. He's probably starting to realize that, hey, he's not as good as he thought he was. And maybe stepping away, yes, it is probably a big kick to his ego. But I almost think that he is growing somewhat where he's realized, hey, I'm not as good as I really thought I was, and this is not for me.
No, maturity wise, absolutely, right? Good for you.
But I'm saying,
You
so
acknowledge that you're not good at a sport and that
but
mentally you're not ready to compete.
we applaud mental health all the time.
Absolutely.
So
I'm here for that.
as much as you know, he's such an easy guy to hate.
Why?
I think because he's the stereotypical, like, if you think of a frat boy, like, yo, bro, let's sling some disc, and he just seems that type. Honestly, I don't know him personally. He might be one of the nicest people in real life.
I hear a lot of love about him on the
That's what I'm
course,
saying.
and
He
all
might
this
be,
honors
but
and
I'm
everything,
saying
like
his persona, the way he act, even when he played ultimate disc golf, he seemed to show people up. He was good. He was one of the best. And that's just how some people are. But he also seems to maybe be realizing, hey, I'm probably pushing 40. I'm married now. Maybe he wants to start a family. Maybe he's
absolutely. And I think like what you're talking
so
about.
I don't want to rip on the dude just because he has maybe. Granted, he might not have taken the path that we wanted him to see, but maybe he's realizing, yeah, maybe this ain't it, and I don't have it. Maybe he's realizing if and I always tell people, if you don't love something, don't do it. And I'm not saying that as the point of I've hated things before, but I've had to do it. But if I hate a sport, I usually realize, hey, there's something else for me. I'm not a professional. It's not my job. But maybe he realized he doesn't want to spend his career here. I tell new teachers this all the time. If you are unhappy, why are you doing this? Find another job. Find another career. Maybe Brody does not want to do this anymore, and he's realizing it now. Before, you've probably seen in other sports the athletes that hold on for way too long. Maybe they do love the sport, but maybe they're just like, I need a paycheck. And you're like, man, I hate seeing you out there hitting 195 with 2 home runs and you're making $15 million a year. Dude, hang it up. Like, leave with some dignity. Maybe he's leaving with 1,000 rating and calling it quits. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, like, there's a lot of people that dislike him for the reasons that you've stated. There's plenty of people who see an outsider come in to play disc golf, and all of a sudden he starts doing well. He's getting private trainings from the pros, which is awesome for him. He showed that with proper training, you can figure this sport out. So all those like sub 900 people, you can do it. But with that said, the amount of people that I feel like he put disc golf in front of with his YouTube and with his following was really good for the sport, regardless of what people think about him. I think disc golf has a percentage of growth due to Brody.
Oh yeah.
And I think we're discussing the wrong things, right? Like, we're not discussing was Brody good for the game. I think that's absolutely yes, right? You might not like the people that have came in because of Brody, but he's brought a lot of people into the sport. That's not the question that we're asking tonight. It's not was he good for the sport. It's the picking apart his breakdown and feeling like he doesn't have the competitive edge. And I think Cody's touched on that, which is, yeah, if your mental health isn't there, don't push it. I agree with that. Don't push that thing. I'm coming in from a competitive standpoint, which is like, okay, cool. You want to compete. You've never competed. don't blame anything but yourself for your lack of ability to compete, because there was nothing but possibility and potential for you to compete in the sport, and you chose the easy way, not the hard way. He chose, let me create ways to profit, and when he leaves the sport, he's going to have a way to continue to profit via Foundation discs, via Atlas disc, and that's what he has to show for it. But don't make it anything more than, oh, you found a niche that you can profit off of, and as a competitor you stop competing. And that's where I get frustrated at, because as a competitor and reaching, I'm 1 year behind him in age, pushing that, I get that, but what is your next move besides purely profiting off of disc golf with never truly delivering on your potential?
But maybe that's what he wanted out of this. Maybe he saw
that's what he
it as
got.
a way to make. Yeah. So,
but own
to
that.
you, dude.
If that's what you wanted, own it. Quit making
he's,
it about a competitive thing.
Yeah.
If that's not what you wanted.
Other people, that I would have an issue. I don't like people that make excuses saying like it's just blah. If he just said, you know what, I got into this to make money, do this. Cool, dude. You did it. You got your name on a disc. No, not many other people are going to be able to say that. You still have revenue coming in from Foundation, Atlas, and guess what? I've watched his videos, and like Josh said, I think he did a lot for the YouTube and content side of disc golf, and maybe that's what he was here for. Maybe that's what his contribution to the game is. He showed that, hey, you can be a disc golfer that's pretty good. You can make money by putting your money into a company that does well. You can sell bags. You can get a disc. He's probably not going to ever be hurting for money because of name recognition.
He said it himself. He can stop now and be set for the rest of his life. So he is good on money.
Yeah.
My point is, if what you're saying is true, own it. Say you came into this sport purely for profit.
Oh, heck yeah.
You're in a position to retire and keep profiting, and you're fine. Own that. But the bullshit that he's fed us for 3 years is that he's trying to compete in this sport. And so that's why I'm addressing.
Yeah.
Either everything that you've said for 3 years is bullshit. Everything that you've criticized of the PDGA and our courses and our rules are bullshit. And you just never had the competitive drive. You really wanted to profit. Own it. Say it. Otherwise, I'm going to continue to address you as an athlete first and foremost, because that's what you came to our sport presenting yourself as. And the moment that changes,
did he ever have that? Do you think he ever, like, again, it's tough for me to know where his heart or his mentality was without knowing him personally, because you could say he never had that drive, but maybe he really did have that grind. But that's
what I'm saying. Like, I have to take what has been presented to me over 3 years, and what has been presented to me via Brody Smith. Have I talked to him in person? Maybe once, but not enough. I've talked to him. I've seen him at a pro tour. But what I'm saying is what he's presented to him and his fans via podcast, via or YouTube videos, via competing in all of the pro stops, is that he's trying to be an athlete and compete in this field. And that's what I'm addressing, is that persona. Now, if that was a lie, that's fine. I don't care about being lied to. I just want the truth to come out, which is, hey, I was never in this for a competitive drive. I was in this purely for profit, which he's been successful in, probably more so than a lot of, like, he's probably top 3, top 4 profit wise in disc golf in the short amount of time that he's been here, which is fine. Own that, but give it to your fans straight up. Don't convolute it with this whole, like, my heart's just not in it. I went to chess.com. I don't care if I was going to win it or not. I would feel the same way. Bullshit. If you were winning that fucking tournament, guarantee you'd be feeling different. But the fact that here's another fucking tournament that you're finishing 70th, 80th, whatever, that isn't the problem. The problem is you've lost your competitive edge. Own that and address that as an athlete, because I don't think there's enough athletes in this world that have faced, especially successful ones. I took this mindset. My training partner was an 8-time national champion, and our wrestling coach continued to tell him there are bigger fish in this sea. If you're the best in the nation, wait till you get to Worlds and you will get beat. And if you are best in the world, there is still going to be somebody better than you.
An alien.
That was our wrestling message to an 8-time national champion. And I love that. And better believe when this individual went to nationals and got 3rd or 4th place, or worlds and got 3rd or 4th place, he got woke-up call. When he started training for the Olympics and he wasn't winning, that was a wake-up call. But he was prepared because of the messaging that it was the coach. And now that he's getting, beat in Bellator, it's still a wake-up call, but he has that messaging to fall back onto. And when you get these athletes that don't have that messaging and they have this fragile little ego around competitiveness and what it truly means to compete, I will have a problem with that. And I will continue to address it because everyone that's listening to this podcast at this moment are viewing themselves as athletes. And you as an athlete, you need to know it's not going to be easy. You need to know that there will be somebody better than you. And I think disc golf does a good job. You're the best at MA2, there's MA1. You're the best at MA1, there's MPO. You're the best in MPO like Scott Withers, there's the fucking Pro Tour. You're the best at the Pro Tour, you're only going to win 3 tournaments a year at best. So even if you're the best like Hamburg, you're not going to win every single fucking tournament unless you're Tatar and you're so dominant. But that day and age for MPO is gone. And so I think as an athlete, and you're listening to this, you need to be aware that you need to fall in love for the reasons, or just move aside and figure out something else, because this, like, the world of being competitive in a professional sport and any athlete isn't that of ease.
Josh, you touched.
I mean, it's page rage tonight, and
it's a page rage.
But what Paige is saying is also, it's correct. And I'm not going to disagree with him in fear of my own life.
That's true. You live in the same state. He will hunt you down.
What's up, Chase? New listener?
Listener. Welcome to Paige and Yelling. This is called Paige is Yelling.
Page rage. He's letting out some steam.
I'm not letting out some steam.
He's letting out.
This is normal Paige.
I'm trying to impart wisdom of a life.
With lots of yelling, lots of cursing. He's like Brick from Anchorman, just loud noises. Like
my entire
lot of emotion.
being of who I am has been dedicated to chasing a life of physicality, competitiveness, and athleticism. That's been my entire life.
That's what his tombstone's going to say.
I have
when
coached
he gets
state
ran
champions.
Through by a bull.
I have coached disc golf champions.
Don't be humble
that's
here, buddy.
my life, and I'm just trying to impart that wisdom on you guys. I'm not trying to rage. And if you don't want to hear
We're
this
used
message,
to it by now. We're used to it. Me and Josh are just sitting here. We just take it.
It's like your rage. It's a good kind of rage. It's an amusing rage. And this rage tonight, I feel like you said what's on so many people's minds, and I think you articulated it perfectly. I think you made your point. You have your opinion, and I think there's a giant amount of people that agree with you. So while it was aggressive,
you're being like Brody.
That's who you are.
You're on a Brody rate. You're Brody right now. You're Brody. You
I will
are
be
being the
critical
loud
of any
voice.
athlete because
right here.
We talk about Barilla.
That's
what
Barilla
Brody
being
says
successful in this. He's on
Spotlight him. I want a big face of Paige right now. Just let him have it. Here's your score,
I'm done, guys. Thank you all for tuning into Jammers in the Rough. It's been an amazing episode. We are
Streets of Rage
over schedule, so we appreciate you for taking the time to listen. Cody apologized for being late.
I don't apologize for anything.
We want to thank our lovely sponsors, but if you have a chance, like and subscribe to CH Sports on YouTube if you're tuning in. If you're so inclined to go to our Facebook page, go check out Jammers in the Rough Facebook page. We're continuing to
Paige yelling,
flush that out. Keep jamming in the rough, everyone. We'll see you in 2 weeks.